Welcome back to the final week of month 2 together. Here we're in week 8. It's already been 2 months of practice, and I hope you've been enjoying the course so far. I hope you've been managing to find time to meditate in your own time. And if you haven't, well then no problem. You can start today and benefit from the final month. So this final week of the second month, we wanted to give you a couple of practices that really tie together everything that we've already done. So in the first session, Mark led us through a heal practice, which is inspired by Professor Rick Hanson's work. He's a neuroscientist and meditation teacher. And the idea behind the heal practice is that this is something that you can use, or a strategy that you can employ when working with any nurture positive practice. So your reminder is a nurture positive practice is these imaginative practices like gratitude, forgiveness, loving kindness, feeling safety and fortune, that to maximally benefit from that, we can look to the neuroscience of what these states do and how best to work with them. So in a heal practice, the key things to do are to bring the state alive, right? And depending on what state that is, we have different approaches into it, maybe with phrases, maybe with some affirmations. So for example, this week we were looking at fortune and safety, reminding ourselves that we are safe, that we are fed, that we are watered, and feeling that sense of support from the ground and the chair, and letting that feeling of safety and support linger. The longer we can hold it there, the better. So you want to increase the duration, but then you also want to increase the intensity. So really just cultivating that as much as feel really safe, feel really grateful, really kind and loving, whatever it is you're working with. And then you can look for things within that practice, things that make it novel and new. Can you notice something new about that feeling of safety? And this just sparks more neuroplasticity because your brain is noticing novel information. It allows your brain to learn and assimilate that state more quickly. And then finally, think about a way to make it personal to you, make it relevant to you and your story, your narrative. What is it about feeling safe that is important to you? What is it about feeling loving that is important to you or relevant in your life? And then tying it back to your biographical self and your sense of self, that it also tells the brain that this is an important thing. So basically, we are bringing this state to mind, we're letting it hang out there, we're increasing the intensity of it, we're making it real to us, and we're basically just marinating the mind and the brain within this state that we're cultivating. And then the benefits from that practice come as a result. Effectively, you can think of that as this transition between state and trait, right? The states that you're evoking in the meditation that start off being just temporary things, as the brain learns that and is reinforcing the neural pathways for that state, eventually they just become background traits of your experience. And so that feeling of safety that you're evoking in the meditation just becomes a background facet to your experience over time. Now, this is something that happens over a months to years kind of time scale, so just stick with it and see how it goes. And then the second and final practice for month 2 is rain. And rain really is a practice that ties everything that we've done together. It's the practice that you can do whenever you want and know that you're ticking all the boxes in a complete and effective meditation practice. So RAIN stands for recognize, accept, investigate, and nurture. So in the first step of the practice, you're going to just pay attention and you're going to recognize something that's going on. The kinds of things that we're looking for are sources of discomfort, agitation, maybe physical pain, anything that's causing you to not be at ease. So you might ask yourself, what's stopping me from being at ease right now? And then recognize, I have discomfort in the shoulder. There's a feeling in the gut. Oh, maybe there's thoughts about the future. There's a stress or anxiety. And so the first step is to just recognize what's happening. This is done by labeling what's there. Just name it. There's stress, there's anger, there's agitation, there's impatience. Just give it a name. Already in doing that, you've disidentified from the thing. That thing is no longer you. That is no longer how you are experiencing the world, but that is something that you are observing. You've made a subject-object shift. So once we've recognized it, the next step is to accept. And this is where we bring in the equanimity training that we did in week 5. We're not trying to make this thing go away. And that's really important because as soon as we try to make it go away, we are resisting it. And in that resistance, there's discomfort, there's that's unpleasant in our experience, and you'll notice that if you pay attention. But B, we're reinforcing the thing. We're telling the brain, this is important because I don't want it there. And that tells the brain that this thing can be kept, the thing that we're recognizing. Whereas if we completely accept it, say, yep, you can be there, you can stay, you can go, do whatever you want, I'm giving you space to stay, pain in my shoulder, anxiety in my gut. Just be there. We're actually doing a bit of a sort of a judo move on the whole thing. We're tricking our brains a little bit into thinking that this thing might not be necessary anymore. And if we're paying attention to it and we notice that it's uncomfortable and then we accept it there, so it's actually not useful anymore, well, then this pattern can start to unravel sometimes. So that's the idea. Accept it, get the space around it, use that equanimity practice. Crucially, don't be looking to push it away or to bring it towards you if it's a good sensation that you're working with. Thirdly, we're going to investigate. So investigation is the strategies that we were using last week when we were doing that deep body scan of looking, what really is this sensation? Ask yourself, this thing that I call pain, what is it really? How would I describe the sensations that make up this impression of discomfort and pain? Where exactly in the body is it? Is it moving? Is it changing? Is it staying still? Can I find the boundaries of it? Can I find the center of it? Would I describe it as throbbing or pulsing, or sharp or dull, or vibrating or tingling? Use words to try and really investigate. And the key thing here is to power your curiosity. Get curious about whatever is going on. And as we do this, we're breaking down this thing that we originally labeled with a concept in the recognize phase into its constituent elements, into its sensations. And in doing that, it breaks away the power of it. It breaks away the realness of it, and it becomes something a bit more manageable. Now, be kind to yourself in this process, because if you're working with something particularly painful, particularly difficult, or maybe even a source of trauma and difficulty, just be mindful of going at the right pace. And if you find it overwhelming at any point, come back. And you can utilize these notions of pendulation and titration. So pendulation is just going into the difficulty and then coming back out, feeling another area of the body that maybe feels pleasant or neutral, supported, and then coming back, resourcing and coming back. Titration is just going in for a little bit. Instead of diving deep into the center of that painful area or that uncomfortable area, work around the borders. Can you soften around the edges? Can you feel into the edges of it? So go at a pace that makes sense for you, and just use some of your own compassionate wisdom to determine where you are in that. And then finally, nurture. In the final phase, we're just going to offer up a bit of support, a bit of warmth, a bit of nurturing care towards this area of discomfort and challenge that we've identified in the body. In this phase, you can use any of the nurture positive practices that we've been doing up until now, and it's up to you a little bit to figure out what would be the most appropriate form of nurture for this particular area of discomfort. Is it just a sense of friendliness or kindness? Is it a smiling? Or is it more of a forgiveness or gratitude or loving kindness? It doesn't matter too much about getting exactly the right form of nurture, so don't worry about it. But the main point is that we just want to offer up a little bit of warmth, a little bit of support, a little bit of a healing balm towards this uncomfortable area. And it might sound strange, but the neuroscience here is pretty sound that in offering up care and support, the neurobiology and our actual physiology changes. So that's RAIN: recognize, accept, investigate, and nurture. And as you can see, it covers almost everything that we've been doing up to now. You've got the mindfulness, the equanimity, the curiosity and investigation, and all the nurture positive practices all wrapped into one cohesive piece. So there you go. Best of luck, and we'll see you again for month 3, the final part of this course together. Enjoy.